Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Lighthouse Sessions. I'm excited. I have my new friend Dominique with me. Dominique, welcome to the show. Tell the audience a little bit about who you are and what you do, please.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to be here. This is probably one of the podcast appearances that I've most looked forward to. So I'm really excited to see what we get into today. So, what I do is I help heart centered entrepreneurs who love what they do and are really good at what they do, but they're exhausted by everything else. And so, what that typically looks like is a creative, say maybe a graphic designer, or a healer like a psychic or an intuitive therapist who don't really have access to a lot of the more custom solutions for, say, their platforms like CRMs, really understanding who their avatar is and making sure that their customer journeys and making sure that the way that they run their business in the back end is made for them. And a lot of times people don't take those type of entrepreneurs seriously enough, because the people who have my credentials typically work for like the Toyotas, the Huntingtons, the Chases, those kind of things. And it's really hard to for people, and I know this because I experienced it, and it's what I write about in the chapter, in the in the anthology that comes out next week, about how people who typically become entrepreneurs, it's because they have something different that they want to bring into the world. And when you're different, a lot of times the traditional routes don't mesh well. And so, in my experience, that has caused physiological issues, burnout, panic attacks that have lasted for hours, those kind of things. And I'm really passionate about helping other people achieve their goals. And this is one of my favorite ways to do it, is to make sure you're not wasting your resources. And, a lot of times people think about resources as time and money, which are completely accurate. But I feel like most people don't think about the somatic waste. So, how your body has to naturally fight just to get something done. And a lot of people like me and us, in this community, we love working in our business, but very much dislike and procrastinate, so to speak, on working on their business. And I love working on the business.
Oh, you are going to be a joy in this family unit. I have a dear friend who is incredibly creative, and yesterday we were on a call and he said, I don't know why you have me in this group because I'm so far behind where you're at in business. I need to learn marketing. I need to, and he was guilting himself. And I'm like, dude, you just need to be bloody creative because you create magic. But then he spends months kicking himself because then, Walt Disney built the theme park. And honestly, Dominique, people forget that Walt had his crazy brother Roy, who did the operation side.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know that he was about to go bankrupt because it wasn't
Yeah.
working.
Yep. He was a crazy cartoonist drawing mice. And then all of a sudden, Roy comes along and, that dynamic duo, I think too many people think I need to do it alone. And, we bought this lie about the self-made person. And it's like, no, 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 no. I don't know a single successful person who doesn't have somebody beside them keeping them stable.
I agree. And, that's one of the things that I really talk about is productivity guilt. And, that's one of the reasons why people who are workaholics, which I'm trying to become a recovering workaholic, but we feel guilty when we don't finish the day, right? Like, so if you are working on this amazing offer and you are sitting still for 7 hours on the sofa or your desk getting this out, somebody has to come tell you, hey, you haven't moved in 7 hours. I need you to stop working, eat something. It's not great for your blood. There's no circulation. Move. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Um, and then we feel guilty by taking the day off because we should be doing something else. But one of the things that I really teach and I'm really passionate about, because I think that it helps to eliminate burnout cycles, is understanding that rest and replenishment needs to be a business strategy. And so I help my clients understand what matters to them so they can nourish that. And we look at 8 different types of your capacity or things that need rest so that you can be the best that you are. So a lot of times, for me, for example, creativity rest is something that I have to include as a business strategy, or I burn out and then I can't do business because the my body has decided there's new creative ways to shut me down. um and so that's never fun. So understanding who you are as the essence or the authenticity of your core self, or what I call your soul fit, needs to actually be integrated into your self-care as a business strategy as well.
I love that. And, I actually talked to another coach on the show once upon a time, and he said it's fascinating because professional athletes are well adjusted enough to recognize that you work the body, you rest that part and recover. And I think it's that rest and recovery phase that a lot of people, they don't realize how much of that somatic energy is used on the act of creating. I mean, it's a chaotic, disruptive, destructive construction process. Like, we need to come down and recenter. Is that fair?
I think that's not only fair, but I think that it's selling it a little short, because so I've been a knowledge worker for decades now. And so outside world, say like your partner, your family, they see you as sitting on the sofa watching TV, so you're not working. While they have to actually leave the house, go to a place, they do their work for 8 to 11 hours, depending on what you do. You come home and you rest. But my home is where I work. And because I'm a knowledge worker, it's invisible to other people until you have your chapter, or your book out, or until you have a new offer, or until you have that new certification that shows the more tangible method of progression. And so I think that that productivity guilt also stems from the impressions that other people have.
Yeah. It's funny because there is no tangible proof of thinking until you're done. Yeah, I find that fascinating because my version of deep thought is I usually have a pen and I'm tapping on my forehead while I stare out the window, and people go, "Oh, you're not busy." It's like, what?
Yeah.
You
Hmm.
just destroyed 8 hours of focus. Well
Exactly. Yeah.
done. And for what it's worth, I've realized my entire life, when I'm deep in thought, people come and interrupt me and then they apologize and back away. And I was like, what's going on? And I realized that my face hasn't returned to civil. And the apparently the deep thought, I'm told it's the death glare looking through your soul. I'm happy to say my youngest son has it way better than I do. And it's like, oh my God, that's terrifying.
I've been accused of that a time or two, and I used to try and work on it, but now I just say I can control my mouth or my face, not both. And honestly, I'm no longer working on it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And again, it's like, you let me know when you're busy or excited about something. I'll come and interrupt it. But again, yeah, we're different people and we recognize that. I am going to, at some point, the weirdo in me, I'm going to invent what I'm going to call the thinking cap. And it's literally going to be a hat that says back away. Jeff's thinking.
on the back of the hat, though.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
It's kind of like one of those caution men working signs. It's like, just, dog bites if you poke him while he's thinking. It's
Yeah.
It's only fair. I mean, I can't change it because, as far as I know, when I'm thinking, I go off and explore the universe, and there's this meat suit that's left in as a placeholder. Um, I'm one of those people that I literally have to set alarms to remember to eat, and um, yeah,
Yeah. I don't set alarms, I just don't eat. And then I'm like, oh, I'm hungry now that I've moved from my computer.
yeah. It's like, oh, well, and this is not healthy, but in my youth, I had this aha moment that if I ate and drank, then I had to stop and have bathroom breaks. And it was like, this is all inefficient. So I'd work 12 hours straight without anything. And then my kidneys started shutting down, and I went, maybe not a good idea.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
like, oh,
pretty
that's not,
sure Will Smith only did that in The Pursuit of Happiness for a specific time amount, which was not 12 hours. So,
yeah. My gift slash curse is hyper focus. And the problem is people get annoyed with me because they're like, well, you said you'd be done in an hour. And I'm like, yeah, an hour my time. That's different than an hour normal people time, because
yeah.
an hour doesn't exist when I'm off doing whatever I'm doing.
Yeah, same.
So I have a world full of really wonderful creative people who are buying into the society bullshit that you need to learn how to do business. And it's like, again, no, I think you just need to find the people to support you. So, Dominique, how do you support people? I want to hear that side of the story because that's what's important.
So, I love that question. Um, And I think that it's kind of true that you need to learn how to do business, but you have to learn how to do business in your own way. And so what I do is I start with the foundation of the person. What are their strengths? What are the things that drain them? What are the things that enliven them? How do they get into flow? A lot of times people don't know their what I call flow triggers. So, for example, for my flow triggers, if I'm having a hard time sitting or doing or whatever, I can't get into that mode, I need tea. So give me a boba tea, or I get go to a new tea shop I haven't been to, and that for some reason triggers me into inspiration, and then I can take on the world. One of the things that has been incredibly beneficial to me and other people that I work with is really understanding that common language to explain or communicate how you work, how your natural wiring expresses itself through you. For example, I love learning, right? And so I have built my business to ensure that every day I get to learn. A lot of times people extract that out of their business, right? Because they feel, again, by common language, you have to pick one thing. And
Yeah.
so the way that niching has been taught, I think has done a real disservice to a lot of multi-passionate people. And so I niche differently. So for example, my work is industry agnostic. It does not matter if you are a virtual supplier of products or services. You could have a brick and mortar business. You can do products only. You could do services only. It doesn't matter to me, because what really matters is how that person interacts and what I call that soul communication, that soul essence or soul fit. You want to make sure that whatever you're doing fits who you are. And honestly, people don't understand that and how to apply that to the business side of it. So, for example, um, CRMs, customer relationship management. There's so many out there, and a lot of times business owners just use the one that they've heard of or that their favorite online guru uh, suggests. And then when they get into the system, they feel so frustrated because it doesn't work well for them. And then they think it's a me issue because
Yeah.
they made it work. So why can't I? I'm just not smart enough. I'm just not business minded enough. This just isn't for me. I don't know how to do this. And what this actual issue is it wasn't made for the way that you make decisions, you think, you communicate, you process information, you any of that. And so understanding how you are built and in essence and internally is the first step to understanding how to make your business fit you versus you trying to fit your business. And so that's what I help with in all aspects of your operations or your back end.
I love that. And, for what it's worth, I spent my entire life, actually spent a summer, I test drove over 50 CRMs, and every one of them made me think that there was something wrong with me. And what I recognize is that a lot of these things are 90% of the population perfect. Cookie cutter works for them, they're content with it. But when you're a visionary or a creative, you need something that reacts the way you react, not something that tells you what to do, because we don't do well with that. We're rebels by nature, and you give us too much of someone else's structure, we'll find a way to break it.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting that you've categorized it that way. I would not categorize myself as a creative because we're taught that creatives make art, and I don't do well with art. I can't draw a stick figure to save my life. And so I would not resonate with that. But what I started learning is I'm extremely creative in my discipline, which is efficiency, productivity, operational
Yep.
excellence, but nobody knows what operational excellence is. Basically, it's a super fancy way of saying I make businesses efficient, increase productivity, and increase value for all involved. And I do my design and creativity in systems and efficiency. And that is something that I am still trying to identify myself as with a creative. And
Yep.
so I think that it's definitely more pronounced in people who consider themselves creatives, but people
Yep.
who don't, they still need this type of work that's suited to who they are instead
Yep.
of the cookie cutter. And if you know me for years before I learned the language of operational excellence, I could not do cookie cutter to save my life. I'm also a
Yep.
realtor, and I could not do real estate the way that you're taught. So for
Yep.
example, um when you become a realtor, you choose your brokerage, at least here in the States, and then they teach you how to prospect. And typically it's go talk to everybody. If you're in the grocery store, talk to people. If you're having dinner
Yep.
at a restaurant, talk to people. And I found that horrendous. I am a giant introvert. I do not want to go talk to random people when I'm trying to do my chores, like grocery shop, and get out. And I assume other people are like that. And so I felt like, oh, I'm not going to do well in real estate. And what happened was I kind of sat back and thought, like, who am I at the center of who I am? Like, who's my core? And I'm an educator by heart. And so I decided to start prospecting through education. And so because I used to be a teacher, I know that teachers love free food. And so what I would do is I'd coordinate it with a school principal and take over their conference room for a day. And I bring one of my favorite lenders with me, and we would just stack the table with food. And I would joke, I said, this is not a timeshare conversation. You can come in, have food, and leave. You don't even have to say hi to me. But we are here as a resource. So if you have questions, we're happy to answer them. And that actually worked. We got several deals out of that. And I would then be focused more on the event that I'm comfortable in. And
Yeah.
I didn't have to talk to everybody. I could talk to people who were for me and who loved me the way that I am. And it did not drain me. So I know I didn't hate real estate, and I still love it. And I still help. And, some people think, oh, for real estate, you just have to be in that local area. And that's not true either. I can actually interview other realtors in your location to find the good fit for you about how you actually operate
Yeah.
versus, just somebody who opens doors for you and then that's it. And so I still get paid off of that. If you choose that agent and you guys close, I get a cut of that. And I don't even have to be in the same state, let alone the same city with you. So understanding what makes you you and leaning into that to me is way more productive than, trying to do all 50 CRMs to figure out which one works for you.
Yeah. So I'm going to challenge one thing you said with a gentle nudge because I
I love
see
it.
you are in fact creative. And by the way, I grew up, I'm classically trained as an accountant. The term creative accountant is
It's not great.
paramount to, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It's not a compliment. It's usually, yeah, it's a
Bob
problem.
related.
Anyways, yeah. But if you look at what you do, and this is I think where I think people again, creativity is seen as, the arts. You can hang it in the Louvre, or it's in the musical scene, or drama or theater or something like that. But the reality is, I would argue that, professional athletes at the peak of their career, they're creative because they're creating something that didn't exist. But for me, business is my game. I love the sport of business. um, the ability to create systems that are bespoke, and I think this is where your true creativity lies. Most people have one or two tools in this space, and they go, okay, cookie cutter, let's use this and follow whoever's system, whether it's, Tony Robbins today, or Alex Hermosi or somebody. Let's follow that cookie cutter and blame ourselves when it doesn't work for our bodies. But what I'm sensing, and I want you to push back on this, but as a somatic, you're dealing with the body, and how the body's energy flows. You're as creative as the greats of all time. And whether you know it or not, I see that.
Thank you.
So when somebody says you're creative, you go just smile and say thank you, because you you have a brain. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to introduce you to a couple of my friends. But in the world, there is this sense that everything is binary. It's either yes or no, this or that.
Zero sum
There
game.
is,
Yep.
yeah, there is the concept, and I love traction, and I love Gina Wickman and the EOS movement. They have the visionary and the integrator. And the fundamental thing I see, and you're one of these rare people, I can feel it, I can sense it, that can bridge from visionary to integrator, because naturally we do not mix well, because a visionary is saying, we got this perfectly good thing. I'm going to take it apart and see how I can make it better. Whereas the integrator's job is to turn the business in and run it on the systems. There is somebody needed in the middle who can handle that friction of chaos in the change state. And I get the sense that that's you. Am I close?
You are absolutely hit the nail on the head. So, one of the things that operational excellence encompasses as part of their umbrella is called change management. So, yes, that's my part of my discipline. One of the
Yeah.
things that I think I had a lot of issues with, and again, I talk about this in the chapter that I wrote for the anthology that comes out next week, is that when you're looking at specific business disciplines, right? A lot of times there are rules that you follow. And for a lot of people, those rules are needed, right? I'm not saying that these rules are bad or that they need
Yeah.
to be changed, but people like us, we need to make sure that we feel whole and undivided, right? And part of that is the intuition that your natural being has. And utilizing that intuition in your business, to me, is what makes your business different, but it also is what creates that invigorating feel when you have a passion for something and you want to make the impact that you envision, right? And so understanding how to translate your intuition into data is what I do. And that data absolutely should include how you feel, how your body reacts. Are you drained when you have to now go into marketing mode, right? Like, for marketing for me, it was really hard because I thought that was more of an extroverted thing. People who like talking to people. Don't get me wrong, I like talking to some people, but if I have to do a whole day of networking, I'm not going to be able to talk to another human being for 18 days, right? And so making sure that I'm building my business and you build your business on a way that does not drain you out of love for that business is something I'm really passionate about, and I actually can do the that bridging. One of the things that is really unique that I have started seeing because I use assessments, because again, I love data, I'm starting to see that most people are either really great at the granular detail or they're really great at the big picture. And I somehow, I don't know how this works, but I somehow see both the big picture and the granular at the same time. And so I am, I guess, fluent in both languages. And so it's
Yeah.
really easy for me to let people, I call it vision vent. Tell me all the things that you want to do. It doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes from now, 5 months from now, or 5 years. I need everything. That way I can build a foundation that holds it so you're not constantly having to upgrade your systems every year because something's changed. And people don't understand that that's possible. And so, yes, I am saying thank you for that creativity because most people don't understand that that's needed or that's even possible, especially with data and, business science.
Well, I will say, and again, there's a sense of patience in you as well, because as a visionary, I tend to say my version of change management is, hey, today we're doing this. And why y'all grumbling? It's, I
Yeah.
have zero. And again, it's not me being unkind. It's just I see this big vision and it's like, don't ask me about the details because I don't have them. But we'll get there. And I think that's I've learned a long time ago that average typical people go to work, they want certainty, they want the rules, they want a path, whereas I'm quite content to just go off and explore, not knowing if I'm going to get anywhere, but I'm going to learn something for taking that journey. So the world needs your translator skills more than
Thank
you know.
you. So, a couple of things I want to say about that. One, I think that the old terminology was you were a dreamer, right? And every dreamer, you can't marry a dreamer. As
Yeah.
in you can't have two
Daydreamer was the
dreamers.
word I got.
Yeah. So you can't have two dreamers running anything, right? Because nothing will
Nope.
get done.
Nope.
And I think it's fascinating that I am now that you have just called me a translator because one of my childhood dreams was to become a polyglot. I want to be able to speak multiple languages fluently, and unfortunately, I have yet to master, a second language. Because if you don't use it, you lose it, right?
Yeah.
And so I have felt so disappointed in myself and in my life because I haven't been able to learn those other languages. And so for you to tell me I am a translator just in a creative way, it kind of just hit me and I couldn't like breathe for a second.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, I know, right?
But the thing is, I am a firm believer, and I will credit Gino Wickman. I think it was in Traction where he talks about Roy and Walt Disney, and few people know that Walt was on the verge of bankruptcy. He was struggling. Now he was truly a creative. There's no debate there because he ticks all the standard boxes. But Roy was this unknown entity, and he had this ability to listen to Walt and to say, yes, Walt, that's good. Now we're going to do this. And I watched, I think it was the creation of Disneyland in California. And by all accounts, that project should have exploded. But, Roy was there and he kept it moving. And it's fascinating. And you need to watch it because you're going to see this. Walt would show up and go, we need taller trees. Can you take these? And they literally had to uproot trees, bring in taller trees. And it kept delaying the production. And then Roy would come in and figure out how to get back on track. And it was just because Walt had this unwavering vision of perfection. Roy had the logistics for it. Together, they accomplished more than most people would have thought possible. But if you watch the show, I get it now why we annoy integrators, because what do you mean bigger trees? What the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah.
These trees grow here natively, therefore this is what we have. No, bigger trees.
Yeah. It's, I love that. So I mentioned I'm a learner. I watch documentaries for fun. And so I have seen probably a version of what you're talking about, maybe not the specific one. So please make sure to send me the name. If you tell me now, I'm not going to remember in 3 minutes.
Nope.
But I definitely want to see that. And a lot of times my clients will tell me these big visions, in their version of bigger trees, taller trees. And I note that, but I'm also asking, what does that fulfill? What is the value in that? And they always have a value, but nobody asks them that. They just
Yeah,
think that they're crazy and they're being nitpicky, and that's never the case. There's
yeah.
something in their consciousness and their intuition and the vision that they've downloaded that has a specific purpose, but they might not always be able to communicate it in a way that makes sense for others. And that's why I make sure that they don't have to make it make sense for me. I'll figure it out, but I need the information. What does that taller tree do for you? Is it aesthetic? Is it shade? Is it because you want to build a tree house in 3 years? So you need something that's taller now to get to the height that you want? There's something there that they just haven't been able to communicate. And that's what I love. And that's why I love vision venting. And one of the things that I have learned about my business is what type of people I naturally do well with and what type of people naturally drain me. And I found, again, through the common language for that I help clients gather for communicating who they are at an essence level, is people who are very, that they're called mystic in one
Yeah,
of the assessments, but it's not the mystical magic type. It's more of the people who don't want to tell you everything. They've already censored what they think I don't need to know, and they're just giving me pieces of it. And I'm saying, no, no,
yeah.
no. Even if it seems inconsequential to you, it may unlock something really important that I'm able to give you. And it's that puzzle piece. A lot of people don't realize they're missing a puzzle piece until the picture's done and it's not done. And I usually can help with that puzzle piece.
I love that. And it's funny you say that, because in the end, Walt saw the freeway being built alongside the park, and he wanted the trees for noise.
Mm-hmm.
And what was an annoyance to the schedule, and by the way, that's where integrators get a little rigid sometimes, is, but we got a schedule. um, it was critical to the success of the park. So but that is the key. When a visionary is trying to explain something and the other person doesn't see all the pieces, it's frustrating for us and them. And then they're like, oh, they're just being difficult. And it's like, no, they see something that you can't possibly fathom yet. And and the funny thing about a true visionary is, once we create something, often it's so stupidly simple, everybody goes, why didn't we do it that way in the first place?
Yep.
But we always climb a very complicated mountain. And for me personally, I design in chaos and complexity to deliver simplicity. And when people come to me too early, they're like, oh, this is stupid, it doesn't make sense, I don't get it. And it's like, you're not meant to.
Yeah. And one of the things that has gotten me to where I am over the last few years, because I did have that frustration when communicating with people, is so most people will scroll TikTok or Instagram or something like that. I scroll Pinterest. Again, it's not about other people, it's about the ideas, right? And so that is sprinkled out throughout. But on Pinterest, I found a, a, a a quote, and it said, uh, "Not everybody's going to get your vision because it wasn't given to them." And I try, like, once I heard that, I'm like, no wonder nobody understands what I'm doing, is because it wasn't given to them. And I want to make sure that people don't feel alone in their entrepreneurial journey, because they were given something to bring that people need, but sometimes the way that we categorize it is misses the mark for us. And I had this issue yesterday. I was on LinkedIn and I'm thinking about getting premium, and I was asking for what the filters are when you get it. And the person just kept telling me about demographics, and like they would give me like six demographics, and then they would ask me, and I'm like, no, 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 I need all of them. What are the other ones? And they're like, well, who's your target market? And I'm like, I don't do it normally, so just please give me the answer that I need, which is the filter. Like, I don't understand why this is so hard. Copy and paste and give me the list. Like, this shouldn't be this difficult. And then he kept wanting me to tell him like the target market. And I finally had to tell him, I said, I have a 30-page document that outlines this. I do
Yeah.
not do it by demographics. Demographics are useless for me. So
Yeah.
please,
Your little
what are the
tick
filters?
boxes don't
Yes,
work.
exactly. And so I just, some people have that inability to answer a question because they don't realize that there's something behind it and they need that information. When no, you don't need the information, just answer my question. It's very simple. List it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know and I feel like that's how a lot of business owners, small business owners, come to me, is they have no idea what they need to do because everybody keeps asking them questions that are irrelevant.
So I just realized something, Dominique, and by the way, you speak more than two languages. I'm going to point something out, but you were being put through a linear questioning process when you're a nonlinear thinker,
Yep.
and that's the fundamental friction between visionary and integrators. For me personally, a business is built when I've put it on the whiteboard. When I've mapped it out and I can see where all the pieces fit, to me that is done. And I'm like, but to the integrator, they're like, oh crap, we need to book this, we need this, and it's like, whoa, just give me a minute.
Yeah.
But what I realized was, first of all, you speak visionary, you speak integrator, verbal, and you're translating the nonverbal to nonverbal. So you're translating simultaneously five languages at any given moment, because you're dealing with the visionary verbal nonverbal, the integrator verbal nonverbal, and then you're putting it into your language so that you understand it, and then you're reflecting it back. So I think you've accomplished your goal and just didn't know it yet.
Oh my gosh, I am going to try not to start tearing up right now.
I love it. And honestly, that is such, like, I can do that. Just for the record, I can speak integrator. It is literally like putting on a 10-year-old suit that is 5 sizes too small, and I got to cut some stuff off to fit it in, but it is painful and annoying and frustrating. And there's always the I don't know how to explain it. Whereas I feel like you just walk through that with ease. So you're the Duolingo of business. Well done.
I love that. And I am definitely going to start using that as a quote.
Warning, I tend to give people what their language needs to be because I can feel it. Um, Now, I can talk to you for hours. I will respect your time. How does somebody connect with you, learn what it's like to work with you? I feel like you probably have a very welcoming front porch, not a big, scary assessment that makes heads explode. So, how do people connect with you?
So I love that I'm going to answer it very long. And so the short answer is LinkedIn right now is the best way. My LinkedIn tag is holistically heart centered. I am in the middle of rebranding, so my website is not up and running right now because, of course, I have to take it completely apart and redo all of it. And in my head, that should take me 8.5 minutes. In reality, it takes me a few weeks. So there's
Eight
that.
and a half
Um,
months. Yeah.
yeah. And so one of the things that I really wanted to point out with what you said is it's a welcoming front porch. It is, not big and scary. And the feeling that I insist on in my marketing, in my business, in my customer journey, in any of the events that I go to is you need to come and show up as who you are. I will typically be in a hoodie and leggings any day. I just created a conference with my business bestie Faith in April, and we're already working on our next one. And people were asking, well, what should we wear? Because usually business conferences are, business casual, suits, those kind of things. And we say, no, come as you're comfortable. Unless you're a pajama vendor, please don't come in pajamas. But in general, come as you're comfortable. And I told him, I was like, I will be wearing a hoodie and a t-shirt. And so you come as you're comfortable. And when I'm thinking about the experience I want people to come in is that giant exhale. Like they don't have to self override in this conversation. They don't have to, mask themselves to have their presence feel a certain way. I want my services to feel like we're on the sofa, cuddled up in a weighted blanket, drinking our favorite beverage, which for me would be a boba tea, and whatever it is that you want to do. And we're just talking and it's comfortable and you can just brainstorm and tell me what you want. And then not only do you get that, a lot of people feel like I can't work with Dominique because there's so many ideas, there's so much stuff I have to do. I tell people I take all of that for you. And so one of the things that I kind of use as an analogy is when you're driving a car, what are you responsible for? How fast you go and the direction. You don't get up under the hood and start working the pistons, right?
You shouldn't.
Right. Same with me. You decide the direction and how fast we go. I do the piston work. I worry about what that looks like. You always have the decision of the choice that we go with, but you make that decision and then I make it happen. You don't have a bunch of new stuff on your plate that you have to get done. As long as you either give me admin access or you're fine with giving me your login if you don't want to pay for extra seats. Um, I just take care of it. And then they're like, really? And then they ask for homework. I'm like, there is no homework unless it's me asking you to think about something or meditate in something or pray about something so that you can give me the answer I need. But then that's it. You're done. And it's just
So
that sigh.
I'm hearing a phrase, you're the load bearing wall. You come in and support, and that just feels very natural. I do have to wrap up, but oh my
I'm
God,
sorry.
thank you. No, 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 no. We are going to have round 2, 3, 4. Thank you for hanging out and being on the show with me.
Thanks for having me.